Hi. Can you hear me?
I can, but you don't look like Cheryl.
I'm not Cheryl. Yeah, sorry. We had to swap. Cheryl apologizes. Something came up. So we're gonna do class 3 today, and then you guys are gonna do your group mentoring next class.
Okay,
Uh, but I am sorry, I couldn't log into Zoom. It's like
okay. And your name is?
I'm Lori, by the way. I'm your one of these instructors in the course.
Okay.
So I will be with you guys tonight. I'm just trying to get myself to a point where I can.
And yeah, there's only been one other person. I thought there were two other people signed up, so I don't know what the
Um,
deal is, but yeah.
we will sort all that out. Um, and let's
And then
see.
I do have a hard stop at 5:30.
What time
So
zone are you?
I'm sorry, I'm in California, so I do have a hard
Yep.
stop at the scheduled time. I can't go over. I'm
No.
actually drove to somebody's house so I can be near an event I'm going to after this.
Okay. No worries. No problem. I was just gonna give. Oh, right. I was just gonna give a couple more minutes, but um. Bonnie is the other person that's with you, correct?
I think so, yes.
You haven't seen her as of yet?
No.
Okay. Okay. Um,
And get a private lesson.
you do. You do. I'm just trying to log into. There it is. That's what I needed. Let me see if it'll give it to me.
Is everything's okay with Cheryl? I don't know if that has to do with her brother's funeral or some of that stuff or not, or
I'm not,
there's
I
Bonnie.
don't have any information.
Okay,
Uh,
well, I hope everything's okay.
Hi, Bonnie. I am Lori, and I'm one of the instructors here for this course. And we just pushed me up for a little bit because Cheryl has a conflict that is going to have us switch classes for today. So instead of you guys having group mentoring, we're going to go over the chapter 3. I'm just trying to get myself together here because everything that I've touched has not been working for me.
What is the group mentoring? Because I don't even actually know what that is.
Great. You guys are going to meet with Cheryl. So next class, instead of today, on Wednesday, Allison is actually going to coach you. And then Cheryl is going to provide some feedback and just go through the process with you about really we talk about um the competencies. We go into a lot of different information that's not just like the class. She's going to give you feedback on your coaching. You're going to go and have a, part of those sessions, you're going to find out what does it mean to be credentialed? Like, what do you need to do in order to do that? Like, she's going to guide you through, mentor you through what it means to have ACC credentialing and the steps that you need to take in order to have that happen. I know I've just given you a really awful explanation of that, but but she's gonna just it's a requirement in order for you to sit for your ACC exam to be credentialed, you need to have 10 hours of mentoring. So your mentor is going to cover a whole bunch of things, everything from what you do to like how you coach, any feedback on your coaching, to everything about the ICF. That's what I meant to say. My brain is my brain is going faster than my mouth. And I'm just trying to log in here, but that's not going to work. Okay, so I will figure that out. All right. So anybody have any questions about anything that you guys have covered up until this point? Anything about schedules, anything at all that you need to get sorted? through?
Well, yeah, just one question. So I was going through, because I was sick last week, I just caught up on the reading and we went through it and I'm going through like the suggested flow. And it
Mhm.
was like, it was the second to last thing where they talk about action. And I want to make sure that it's still the right thing, that you don't really get into what steps do you want to take until after you've done the coaching, right? That it's not something you're doing. I just found like, I was just making sure, because I was looking at it, I'm like, it felt a little early, but then I was like, so I just want to make sure nothing's changed. So I already have my ACC. I'm doing this for my PCC, by the way.
Oh, great, perfect.
Yeah, so I was just thought it was like, we really shouldn't be getting into the action until we're kind of full circle on the coaching, correct? That hasn't changed,
In
correct?
a way, I'm gonna give you a maybe on that. That's gonna depend on your client and what that looks like. So, as you know, coaching's not a strict regimented process, right?
Yeah,
We get our coaching agreement, get really flat what they want to talk about and what they want to have. And the middle ground there can literally look however it looks and however it flows. We just want the conversation to flow. The one thing that we're, more rigid on is really nailing that coaching agreement. And then after you get your coaching agreement, we're going to go ahead and just let the conversation flow. So I've had clients where they're like, they tell me what they want to talk about, and they're automatically like, okay, I know what I need to do. Like, I need to do this, 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 and this. And then I'll go ahead and I'll get their accountability. I'll go ahead and I'll get their objections as we're talking through it. I don't wait until the end. I just go for when it feels most natural.
okay.
Right.
Because so as a coach, though, we don't initiate that. And if they initiate, it's different, but as a coach, that's not something we're like, we're not asking in the middle of a coaching session. It sounds like, there's an action you want to take here. Do we do it? I just want to make sure, because I'm going for my PCC, right, which is a little stricter, and I was
Mhm.
just surprised that, I'm glad I brought it up because I was taught very strictly on that. And so,
I
yeah,
mean, in my personal opinion, I feel that you can, right?
okay,
Because with the ACC and PCC levels, everything they're going to look for are those competencies that you're supposed to hit. And
okay,
nowhere does it say that they have to be in a specific order. What they want you to do is connect with your client, go ahead and develop that rapport, that trust, right? And actually support them in getting and hitting those markers that, we talked about.
okay,
Right? So it's going to be based on your client, it's going to be based on your relationship, it's going to be based on how the conversation goes.
okay,
So
great.
if it feels
Thank you.
natural, it's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I had a more practical question.
Mhm.
So far, I have 3 different versions of what Cheryl is calling the SCE coaching framework. It's in like chapter 1, then it's on its own, and then there's another version that was called the most recent, I think. So I don't know which version I'm supposed to go by and why it's appearing so many times.
Okay. So you're saying within the course, within UpCoach, you
Uh,
find it,
With
and are
the
you
printables, the PDFs.
okay? And then you're saying that they all have a little variety to them?
No, so the coaching framework appears in 3 different places.
Okay. Are they all the same?
So I have 2 PDFs that
Mhm.
it's on its own, but it appears in another version within, let me find it specifically. I think it was yeah,
It's in the
chapter
chapter
1.
for the teaching, and then a standalone version so we can print out and have a copy as a reference. So that's why there's 2. I don't know about the third, but that's why there were 2 in chapter 1. Because
Okay, and
one
then
was, yeah,
But
so which
what
is
I
the right
well, what
printable one? Is it the one that's just plain text, or is it the one that has the logo on it?
I
as
don't know.
as long as the information is the same though, correct?
No,
The
that's
information,
why I'm saying this is
okay, that's what
confusing.
I wanted to make sure.
The
Um,
one says SCE Coaching Academy Coaching Framework,
mhm,
setting the stage, yada yada. Then the
mhm,
other one says the same, but it's got the Coaching Academy, SCE Coaching Academy logo on it.
okay,
And it is different and it looks fancier, but there was some This one's got a copyright on it. There was some confusion about the uploads to the drive in the course software, and so I just don't know which one is the right one.
Let me take a look right quick. Give me a second. I'm actually
Well, I
in your
don't know if you
report.
can, it'll probably come up backwards. So there's what the one version looks like, and then this is the second version. It's got a logo on it, and it's a bit heftier
Mhm.
too, I think, more pages, but that could just be because it's not as condensed.
Um,
One says model and framework, one says coaching framework.
okay. Let me and let me see, where is the drive? There's the drive. That's only giving me that. All right. You know, I would go, I know she's made some updates, right? Because like as every time we do a class, we're always kind of providing feedback and students are providing feedback, and you know, we go through the material all the time, that we do provide some updates to them. So why don't I will reach out to her and I will see what the most up-to-date version is, and I will get back to you on that. I
Okay.
apologize. I'm not able to get into where those documents are living right now. Okay, so I will find out for you. By the end of the class, I will have that flat for you. Okay, anything else? All right. So today we're going to talk about cultivating a coaching mindset. And then we're going to go through this information. And then after we go through that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to listen to a recording. And well, we'll take a break, we'll listen to a recording, we'll break down that call, what that looks like, we'll go through the competencies to prepare you guys for Wednesday as to what it's going to look like for you to get feedback. Okay. Any questions on that before we get started about, okay. So we're going to go over chapter 3. Let me just show that right quick to you so you know which one that we're doing. We're going to go, and can you guys see that? So we're going to be in this chapter here, just so you guys know. And what we're going to do is we're going to chat about it. So I'd love to hear from you guys. When I say coaching mindset, what comes up for you?
For me, it's
your
go ahead.
role.
Bonnie.
For me, it's a role, because I'm coming from a therapy background.
Okay.
And it's a different type of role, so that's why I'm learning about it. But it's a particular role. It's not a thing that the content I use in my everyday life, but the role is not something I play all the time, because the Safeway clerk would get really annoyed if I started counseling her while she's got a long lineup of people, just because I recognize something. So it's a role that I put on and put off. And because it's a professional role, it's not I only put it on in certain contexts, and it has to have very clear boundaries. So the coaching mindset would be a different role, and I would probably use it similarly.
Okay. Okay. I get that. Allison?
Well, for me, it's about being in service. So I'll tell you that, like when I first started coaching and I was nervous, I had to come up with a little mantra, right, to get into the right mindset. And it was like, how lucky am I to be in service of this person, to be a witness on their journey and to be able to support them on that journey. And so to me, it's all about being in service. It's knowing that there's no performative aspect of it, that there's no judgment, that there's no outcome, it's not prescriptive or directive, that I just get to be, in service of their journey and help them navigate it. And so that's, to me, is how I create my coaching mindset.
Yeah, I love that. So ultimately what we're trying to do is unlike when you're having a normal conversation, right? As a coach, what we're trying to do is create that safe space for them, a space where they feel that they can speak into. And Bonnie, as a therapist, I'm sure, right? This is very similar to what you deal with. So I understand you saying it's like, I like to equate it to a performer, right? Michael Jackson became Michael Jackson when he put his glove on, right? So there's a certain ritual that some of us do, just like Allison was alluding to as well, of that you're about to sit with somebody, that you need to have 100% full attention, and whatever's happening behind you in your life, wherever, does not matter for the time that you're with the person that you're working with. So ultimately, a coaching mindset is really our commitment that we have to our clients, right? It's us being committed to their growth. It's committed to, our own personal growth as well, right? We cannot assume that we know it all, right? So when I'll be really honest with you, Cheryl has something come up. I didn't know I was going to be here with you guys until shortly beforehand. I logged into the wrong Zoom, right? My Zoom that I had was not your Zoom. Everything that could possibly go wrong for me to sit here with you today did, right? And when I say that to you, right, think about when that happens to you with a client and you're like, oh no, you got caught in traffic, you spilled your coffee, right? Or they didn't make your coffee right. Like, there's certain things that we do. So for me, I know that the second that I sit in front of this camera and that I'm with you, everything else outside of my life doesn't matter. And my commitment is solely to bring you the best information possible to my ability and create a connection with you and have it be that you walk away with something more than when you first got here. And it's the same commitment that I have with my clients, right? And as I'm saying that to you, I'm like, I didn't even introduce myself to you. I was so out of whack with everything I got going on. So why don't I pause right there for 2 seconds and just tell you guys, I would love to learn a little bit more about you. And also then I'll tell you a little bit about me so we could get acquainted. But so Bonnie, tell me, you are a therapist. Is there a specific group of clients that you would like to work with?
Severe trauma.
Okay.
Typically shows up in the form of multiple and severe abuse, as far as ritual abuse, predominantly depression, anxiety, PTSD. But I, having grown up with anxiety, figured out the trick to it. So we typically end up getting through anxiety quickly, and then it ends up becoming more performance based, like how to have a better life, how to be more boundaried, how to change thinking, and those kinds of things. And for me, I thought that coaching would be a better model than therapy, because what I found was it was traumatizing me and my clients to rehash these stories, and I don't actually need the details to change them.
Exactly.
So I go into neurolinguistics, which I call direct access programming. And rather than sit and talk it out, we nail it, we find it, we change it, we move on.
Perfect.
But it's literally working with how the brain encodes information. And so it just, to me, seems more of a coaching model.
Love it. Love it. Really. And I really honor you for making that change. Right? Because that took courage to do that, where you're going from one platform to another. So
super intimidating, actually.
you'll be, trust me, it's good. You're gonna be you're gonna be a rock star. I could already tell. So Allison, tell me a couple sentences about who you serve.
So I'm 30 plus years in the tech industry, have a master's in engineering, started my career as an engineer, moved into sales, marketing, and leadership. And as a woman in tech, it was more challenging than it needed to be. I thought I was going to be a teacher, then I thought I was going to be a therapist, and then I found out what coaching was, and that was it. So after the last misogynistic situation I dealt with, I finally left tech, went back to school, and built a coaching practice. Cheryl, I met Cheryl through the World Business and Executive Coaching Summit. We're both group leaders there, and she helped me get my ACC. And now I had to shut down my business for a year and a half because of health, and rebuilding it. So unfortunately, my ACC's expired, so I got to do everything from scratch. And working with Cheryl to get my last education hours and to help me get my PCC. I work with leaders, both men and women in tech, who are in new roles and want to close that leadership gap.
Love that. Love that. That's great. And I hope that you're doing okay.
Yeah. Bonnie knows when you go through a near-death experience, there's trauma that you'll always carry with you, but health-wise, I'm mostly good.
Okay, well, that you segue me right easily into the fact of what I do. So I am a physician assistant by education. I've spent 25 years in healthcare, working in oncology, pathology, and all the things cancer-related research and all of that. Up until the point that I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And I realized that I was like, you know what? I don't want to be on this side of the table anymore. I want to move myself forward. So what I actually do is I support, up to this point, I've been supporting women who have undergone a chronic illness or life crisis. And I work with them on mindset of, okay, this is what's happened to you. How do we get around it? Right? It's not gonna go away. You're always gonna have something come up, but we want you to be able to deal with it. And so that's what I've been a coach for 15 years, and it's something that I am very, very passionate about. And hence why I love to also come on here and support you guys in elevating your game. Because just like the conversation we're going to talk about today, I personally feel that we are never experts, right? We may be very good at something, but there's always room for improvement and there's always something to learn. And so before I forget, please know that if I could ever support either of you, let me know, and I'm happy to do that. So come and find me if that's of interest to you.
Can I add just a note on that real quick?
Mhm.
So mine was I was born with a birth defect in my heart,
Mm.
and the valve failed during the beginning of COVID. And when they tried to replace it, I ended up in a coma and something called ECMO. If you're familiar with ECMO, I had a 20 to 40% chance of ever walking out of the hospital alive. And
I'm so glad to see you.
I was not professional. I was a collegiate athlete my whole life. They said that's what saved me.
Yeah.
But I was in and out of the hospital for months because the trauma. My heart's okay, but the trauma you went through. And I speak about the intentional choice. I said I made the choice between victim and victor, and I
Yep.
wanted my life back. I was not going to accept a life of less than.
Yeah.
And so I took my life back, and that's what I tell. It's like my motivational talk I talk about is the power of intentional choice.
Yeah.
And that when you really make a choice, I didn't know what the road looked like. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I know I wanted to take my life back. So I did.
I love that. I love that. And I'm very happy to see you here, right? Every day is a gift for sure.
Yeah.
Looping back to you, Bonnie, Cheryl said that it was the document that she gave last week, and that she will send it. She will send it out to you guys so you have the most up-to-date version, okay?
Okay. And now I'll get rid of the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's all the same information. It's just going to probably be laid out a little bit differently with a little bit more meatiness to it. So, okay. All right. So then when we're talking about a coaching mindset, what we're really going to be talking about is commitment to growth, right? And both of you have shown amazing examples of that in your own lives, of being unstoppable. So what we want to do is we want to foster an environment where our clients can unlock their potential. And how we support them in doing that is by integrating emotional intelligence. And that's what makes this course really unique, is the fact that we're, besides the coaching component on it, there's also that emotional intelligence piece. So we want to use it as a way for us. We want to use the coaching format that we're teaching you with the emotional intelligence component as the foundation to our relationships with our clients in our coaching practices. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, what do you guys think I mean? When I say that, what's the first thing that comes up for emotional intelligence? Oh,
I'm
Allison,
gonna
you're,
sound like I'm quoting the book, right? But I mean, emotional intelligence is how, my understanding of my emotions and how I regulate them and manage them, right? And then how I recognize them in, others and all of, and that. So, but for myself, my emotional intelligence is understanding and regulating my emotions.
yeah, Bonnie?
For me, I see emotion as a language.
Mhm.
It's how the brain encodes information, and it's how you retrieve information. So when you want a memory that you can't get to, if you can find the feeling, very often you'll get the memory. And the other part of it is the emotion is not necessarily going forward. So it's being able to read the emotions accurately, and if it would be better if they were natural, but they will be encoded falsely. So if you go through a trauma, you'll pair the two ideas together and it will throw off your intelligence, because the original idea of them is to know when to approach and when to retreat, when it's an opportunity, when it's a threat. And so these things, that they get mismatched, so that you're running from someone who loves you and embracing somebody who hates you,
But
and being able to sort
okay,
through and read, to basically just read them.
okay, okay. Um, how I like to present it is honestly is through self-awareness. We are only as good as we are self-aware. So when we talk about our emotions, when we talk about our behaviors, when we talk about how we present ourselves, when we talk about how we communicate, that is, we are able to hone in our skills to improve our skills based on how self-aware we are and how we are actually delivering them, how it's landing to the other person, and how we read the room.
Hmm?
Right? So we want to be able to be self-aware ourselves of like, okay, I know I'm really great at A, B, and C, and I am awful at X, Y, and Z. And if I am aware of that, then in my business, I should not even spend time in X, Y, and Z. I should really hire somebody, an expert, or somebody that loves to do X, Y, and Z. Right? So think about your clients. Think about your client who's like, I hate to clean my house. I cannot stand it. And then they have a complaint of my house is always dirty. I can't live like this. There's the mismatch. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to make them become self-aware that, look, you hate doing that. You hate doing laundry because you hate folding it and putting it away. So how can we support you? Uh, and they eventually get to the point that maybe they should just go and bring it to a laundry service, right? Or give it as a chore to one of their kids. But they're not going to create a change without having the awareness. And the same is true for us, right? So when we're talking about our own self-awareness, it's how we're going to personally grow. It's how we're going to recognize how we impact others, whether it's positive or negative, right? It's really a gauge for us. The other thing too, when we talk about personal, emotional intelligence, there's a wide variety of areas that impact emotional intelligence or emotional intelligence impacts. So you want to talk about executive coaching and leadership, it's in there. Team effectiveness, it's in there. Leadership development, it's part of it, right? But ultimately, what we're looking at is really how um when we talk about coaching and using emotional intelligence, what we also want to do is recognize where we can develop our communication skills, right? Where we can, for conflict resolution. And again, this is true for our clients, right? We want to also look at what level of empathy is there. Because when you think about, emotional intelligence, if you don't have a high, IQ, there is no way that you're empathetic. And if you're not empathetic, you are not connecting. And I don't mean you guys, but I'm saying your client is not connecting. They're not able to even be in that conversation. They're not able to be with other people's emotions. And they literally have conflict because they are just not empathetic. You don't understand me. You're not getting what I say, right?
Mm.
So that's part of us, for ourselves, why we want to go ahead and increase that IQ, but we also want to have our coaching, have our clients start becoming aware of what their level is. Like, oh, I probably could have handled that differently. Oh, I get what they're saying now, right? So we want, and what also we're able to do is we can navigate change, right? If you have that self-awareness, you can easily be like, oh, I see where I need to improve. I see where I need to change something. And when we do that, when we start putting in empathy, when we start putting in that awareness, when we start recognizing where we're being a leader and when we're actually, shortchanging everybody around us, then it will automatically result in a more positive relationship because you're actually listening to the person, you're understanding what they're saying, you're empathizing with them, you're actually showing that you care. So you're going to start cultivating positive relationships as well once your emotional intelligence comes into play. Because there's
So
no, sorry, did somebody say something?
I have something to say, but I'll wait for you to finish.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, so I was hired for 2 clients in the tech industry, 2 women, because they're very low on the emotional intelligence. And their communication is very, very abrupt. And I often find that in the tech industry because they're very logical. If my answer is no, I'll just say no. Right. And trying to teach them about helping them understand about people's need to be, heard, seen, and valued.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's interesting because I have an article in my newsletter going out tomorrow that talks about that, and that I have a CEO who I coach 8 people in the company, and 3 of them all bought things to the CEO, and she said no to all of them, and they all still love her. Why? They were seen, heard, and valued. She listened to their opinion. She understood what was important to them. She shared information, right? High EQ, right? And yet these clients still are like to them, it's like, okay, fine, I'll listen because it'll make them happy. So I think there's a difference in the emotional intelligence is awareness, but is there a thing about desire too, like wanting to pay attention to people's emotions? Is that a component of it? Because I think they'll play the game,
Mhm.
but that's not the same as caring.
Well, you will 1000% know whether or not somebody's truly paying attention, right? We have that innate way of, I mean, we're energy, right? You know when somebody cares and when somebody doesn't. You can feel it before they actually even say anything, right? Like somebody can walk into your office and then you're like, you could tell whether or not they're mad because it's the energy that they come into the room with, right? So I believe there's a lot of different components to that. And I also feel that in order for you to have a really high EQ, you really need to, it's a package of all of it. So when you're talking about your clients, um, it's more than just listening. They have to embody it. It's a state of being as opposed to a doing.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a big thing of teaching, right? The being versus doing. If I can get them to listen, that's win one, right? And then, yeah, that's a
But then
start.
you need to get the empathetic card as to why it's important for them to listen.
Yes, I'm working on
Right?
that.
Yeah. And it's not
Yeah,
easy when people can't see it, right?
yeah,
So it's just like
We haven't
And-
really officially started the coaching yet. We just finished the 360, so we're about to start the actual coaching
Yeah.
element of it. So yeah.
Yeah, so this is perfect timing for you, right? Like,
Oh, it was perfect. Yeah, it was perfect. Yeah. Yes,
right,
exactly.
exactly. So when we talk about EQ too, we also want to talk about mindfulness, right? Mindfulness plays a huge role in how we interact and how we relate to people. So we want to make sure that we're listening to our client without judgment. We're listening to our clients with care, and that we're going. And when we do that, we then support us developing that trust and safety that people need in order to be felt, seen and heard. So, um, so we can leverage emotional intelligence in a lot of different ways. And ultimately, what we're trying to accomplish here is help our clients get a deeper understanding of themselves and the people around them. And the goal of all of that is honestly creating more meaningful personal development for themselves and their relationships, and also ultimately achieving their goals, right? So when we talk about the EQ model, there are multiple different things that are involved in it. And we're going to talk, that includes self-perception, right? How aware are you? How do you perceive yourself? What conversations do you have with yourself? Self-expression. How comfortable do you feel sharing being vulnerable, sharing your thoughts with other people and with yourself, right? And also, how do you communicate with people? Are you an abrupt no? Or are you a person that goes on and on and on, right? Because those are the two extremes. You go on and on and on, and before you ever give your answer, right? Which is two people that like really test people's patience, right? Or do you how are you at decision making? Are you a quick decision maker? Are you an impulsive decision maker? Are you a person that takes a lot of time to make your decision? And do you go ahead and factor in all the things that are going to happen when you make that decision, right? And the other thing too, that's part of it is stress management. What people fail to recognize is that if your behavior is in alignment with your values, and you're also feeling like you're being seen, you're being valued, you're being heard, and you're also reciprocating that for other people, then your stress is going to be very low because you feel like you're part of that community. You feel that you are accepted. A lot of times when people have a hard time communicating, when they have a hard time, um, relaying what they want to say, that then causes a whole slew of anxiety and a whole bunch of other complications that come up for people. So we want to make sure that as coaches, we are able to handle the stress of having all, the conversations with our clients and everything that comes up for that. And then as far as our clients, we also want them to be able to stress manage as well. And that all falls under this umbrella of emotional management, which is part of the emotional intelligence. So there is some information that deep dive into all of this in your book. I'm not one to just read from the book. I like to kind of have a conversation about it. So take a look through that. And this whole course, we're going to break down a lot of this conversation that we're having, and we're going to put it in specifically with the chapters that we're covering. So when we talk about trust and safety, we're going to talk about the EQ that's part of that and how to develop that and what do we need to accomplish, right? So today's just an overview of what that means.
Quick, another question.
Yeah.
So the book, the transformational coaching book we're reading,
Mhm.
does it make sense to read like the emotional intelligence 2.0 book with it, or does it cover all of that in there? Like, are we getting the pure, I guess I was looking at the summer, and so I want to make sure that I'm getting the full emotional intelligence education.
So, both books are very beneficial. I suggest reading them both. The Transformational Coach, is a really great book. And part of your assignments is going to be off of that book. So if you had to prioritize one, definitely do that so that way you could complete your assignments. But make sure you do the other one as well too. It is a pretty good read and it's pretty
Okay.
easy. I got it off of Audible, so I was just listening to it.
Yeah, I have it on my Kindle. I just started it multiple times, and then, I get distracted on these books, so
What
yeah.
book is this?
Just Emotional Intelligence 2.0.
Yeah.
Where in our course stuff is that
It's
even?
not, it's not. That's why I was
Oh.
asking.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's a referred book. It doesn't hurt to read it.
Refer from where?
From me, really.
Oh,
I felt that it was something that was helpful. It's a pretty good read. The Transformational Coach is a required reading for this class, though.
Yes,
okay.
I already got that one. That's coming
Yeah.
with me this week on my trip. Yep.
Okay, so when we're talking about the ability to handle our emotions, right? We all know that that is something that is a make or break, right? Think about the people that come in and they're just flying off the handle or they're crying and uncontrollably, right? Like we've all been in those situations, and we've also had to deal with people in those situations, whether in private or like in our business life or our private life. So what we want to do is we're going to need to support our clients as well on how they can emotionally self-regulate. So part of this whole conversation is like, okay, you're dealing with something. Like, how do you need to move forward with these emotions that's safe for you, for everybody else around you, and also productive, right? I mean, people can yell and yell. Like I saw it today at work and I was actually kind of surprised. I was covering a shift at the hospital and there was an interaction that happened. An employee there felt like they were talked down to, not respected. And once the person walked away, she started flying off the handle. And I had never seen that from her before. And I kind of sat there and I looked at her. I waited for her to kind of like simmer down a bit. And I went to her, I'm like, I get why you're feeling that way. And she kind of looked at me and I was like, you wouldn't be feeling this way if you didn't feel that she talked down to you. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. So what do you need right now in order to just let this emotion go? Because we got a busy day here. What do you need? How can I help? Right. And it was in that moment of somebody just validating her, like, yeah, you saw that too, that she literally snapped out of it. So we're going to have circumstances like that with our clients when they show up like they just won the lottery or they just lost their dog. Right? And in that moment we need to recognize, okay, are you able to have a conversation right now? Do you want to reschedule? And don't worry about the coaching call right now, but what do you need as a human being that I could support you? But we need to be okay with whatever they're bringing to our call, right? If you can't be with it, it's not going to go really well. And meaning us as coaches, right? Not you personally, but saying like sometimes our clients are going to bring stuff up that is really traumatizing for us, confronting for us, and we may not be able to know how to handle it. So part of this emotional self-regulating is just that. So whether it's you or them, right? I love to start my coaching segments with okay, great. Thanks for being here. Okay, let's just let's close our eyes and breathe. So getting them recentered through breath. And then tell me, what do you have going on? What's happening? And then actively listening to them. Because again, everybody just wants to feel heard. One of the other things that I do is, okay, when people, when there's a trigger and they're not sure what that trigger is, or if they have an experience of somebody or something, right? You can always have them take a look and see, how does it manifest within their body? What's happening for you right now physically? So for me, I know I'm nervous when my cheeks get red. And so when my face gets flush, I'm like, okay, something's making me nervous. What's happening? Right? So sometimes having our clients start recognizing for those signs of what's happening to their body will allow them to be like, oh, there it is. And it'll stop them from flying off the handle or whatever their behavior is that they're trying to control. Right? And also another great way to really handle emotions. Think about when you go to the beach. You have your feet in the sand. And how do you feel when you leave the beach? What's that emotion for you? What's that feeling? You're on a vacation.
If I'm leaving the beach, I'm sad.
But what's your body doing? And I'm always sad too. I get that. But how do you feel?
Relaxed.
Yeah, because you just grounded yourself. You've just spent a whole bunch of time grounding. So if you have a client that is like emotionally not manageable, like these are some ways for you to be able to get them to recenter, right? Breathing, really listening to them, having them scan their body, do some grounding. That's me beeping. I thought I turned that off. There it is. Does that help? When I say that to you, it's nothing new, but it's something that we sometimes may not think of. Questions, comments, statements.
It sounds like coherence, which is just another tangent off the same main line, I think, because coherence has to do with congruency, right? And emotional intelligence is a great way to know if you're congruent and to return to congruence. And when you are emotionally intelligent, you are also congruent. And congruence has a very definite sensation to it, right? So there's a lot of these different models are referring to the same kind of thing, but using a different language.
Yeah. Yeah. And why I love that you recognize that is because what may work for me may not work for Allison, right? It's the same reason why we could hear something over and over and over again, and then somebody else comes and tells it to you, and you hear it differently and you get it, right? So that's a key point that you're also bringing up, that with their clients, it's not cookie cutter. We got to figure out, okay, which one of these is really going to be what they are willing to do, and also what's going to really make the difference for them. How can I say this? How can I phrase this? How can I connect to them so it lands for them? So thank you. Thank you for bringing that up too. Okay, so the next part of this conversation, right? So we've now had these techniques that we've implement with ourselves, with our clients, right? And you can do these at any time. So like I said, when I am working with my clients, the first thing that I do is I go ahead and I do a breathing exercise before we even get started. And most of the time, that's for me more than it is for them. But they don't know that, right? That's for me to just center and be like, okay, I'm here. And so what we want to do is really create that state of calm. We want to really create a sense of self-awareness for them. Because if they're not calm, and if they're not in the mindset of moving their life forward, let's say, then trying to coach into that is going to be very difficult, very, very difficult. You're going to literally be pulling your hair out, right? It's like, I don't know if you've ever tried to coach somebody while they're driving, or they're in a car full of other people, or they're in a room full of other people and they don't have headphones in. I mean, it's impossible. It's like, you might as well just reschedule, right? Like, just like, don't even waste your time, right? So, we want to really use these techniques in order to have them get recentered. And then we want to go ahead and we want to move them into a more positive and constructive mindset. And so we're able to do that by helping them reframe some of their beliefs, some of their conversations, some of their words. So if somebody comes to you with a failure, right, we want to reframe that as a way for them to recognize the gift that they just got feedback. Right? A lot of times, especially as an entrepreneur, we're doing the same stuff all over again, right? Like we try something, it doesn't work. And a lot of people are like, forget it, I just give up. But what we're trying to say here is, what if you took that, got the lesson that you were supposed to learn from it, and then try something else, right? We want to be able to have our clients view their setbacks as a positive thing. One, they're in action. They have the bravery to actually go ahead and move forward. But we also then want to recognize, like, okay, what worked and what didn't work? And what can you try differently, right? So we're going into that growth mindset for them. The same is true as, taking something that is challenging and reframing that to being grateful that you have the opportunity, right? Looking at alternative perspectives, that there's always the other side to the coin. And also then positive outcome visualization, meaning we want them to even, do an exercise where they're sitting there with their eyes closed and visualizing what it would be like to achieve that goal. Like, have it become real for them, right? And for them not to worry about whether or not something's going to go wrong. Have them focus on what would it be like for you to get that, right? So, there's a couple of scenarios that are on here. Take a look through them, and then we could chat about them. But one of the things too that I want to just quickly go over before we take our break is, how do we develop a growth mindset? Hold on one second. Hold on. I need to close my door. Hey, it's always good when somebody shows up not expected. Okay, so the other thing that we want to talk about too is developing a growth mindset for ourselves and also for our clients. Okay, so the last thing that I want to leave you guys with is this topic, right? Is like, what do we need to do in order to facilitate a growth mindset for people? So when I say that to you, what's the first thing that comes up?
For my clientele, struggles, traumas, events that are overwhelming for them, are taken very personally.
Mhm.
And they, without the emotional intelligence, they can't tell the difference between this is happening now and this is it forever, the rest of my life.
Mhm.
They cannot see that out. It's like if you were standing in front of a bear, if you're in survival mode, you won't see the gun that's sitting on the stump right beside you.
Mhm.
Right? It gives you tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, we have two brains. That brain is minimally resourced.
I love you. I just want to tell you that I love you and how smart you are. Okay, we have two brains.
We
Go.
have two brains. So think of it as two backpacks or two swords, right? One of them has the survival stuff packed into it, like 6 things. That's all you got. And so if that is your domain, then you're trying to be a corporate executive with only 6 survival tools in your backpack, right? But if you're in the thrive brain, sky's the limit. And it's already there. You just have to change your mindset. It's already there. You don't have to add, you just have to learn that they're there and learn how to use it. And so the mind, it is about mindset. Which mind are you using? Are you survival based or are you thrive based? And that's going to change your outlook. It's going to change your behavior. It's going to change how you feel. It's going to change your relationships. And it's a difference between success and failure, period.
Yeah. Allison, anything to add?
Well, first off, that was awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, so for me, facilitating a growth mindset, I have a process that I work through, and the first one is choice, right? You know, reminding them you choose to be here, you're choosing to be coaching, you're choosing to expand your perspectives, so that's a start of the growth mindset, right? The second is clarity. Like, what do you want? What are you looking for? Why is it important to you? Why now? Right? To really get clear on that. And then curiosity. What do you need to learn from this? Right. So that's the first 3, I guess, yes, they're all C's, which is a marketing thing, but it really is, choice, clarity, and curiosity. And if they embrace into those pieces, that builds the confidence. And then the communication happens after it. And then the commitment to stay in it. So that's my model. Right. So my model really is about, reminding my clients that, first thing you did is to hire me as a coach and make the intentional choice. And that means that there's a commitment to growth, there's a commitment to learning, there's a commitment to status quo not being enough at this point. And so that's my practical piece of how I help them get into a growth mindset.
Okay. So would you say that it's easy? Would you guys say that it's easy to do that?
Well, I would say that if there, some of them, the ones that hire me themselves are leaning into it more than the ones whose companies bring it in, right? And so there is if they're spending the money, which I ain't cheap, they're leaning in. So I do think there is some inherent piece of that. That being said, that only takes them to a piece, right? That gets me in the door. It doesn't necessarily get me in the building.
So my
Right.
question is it easy?
Not initially.
I don't think it's a binary answer. I think the answer is it depends. I think it's going to be a different scale depending on the person, and the resistance, the fear, the saboteurs, right? What's there? We don't know. So I can't give you a binary answer. I would say it's a journey, and some people, the journey will be faster than the others.
Yeah. And it's not always easy.
Yeah.
Right? So, because this is a thing, right? And the reason why I'm asking that question is because just like how we think, oh, we've gotten there. Okay, I got it. We then recognize that there's another level, and then there's another level, and there's another level. So we're never done. So some are easier than others too, right? Some people may grasp something so much better than somebody else and like different levels and all of that. But ultimately, what we're wanting to do is if we have our client be open to maybe seeing something in a different light, right? We want them to continue to move forward. We want them to celebrate their efforts. We want to, have them recognize where they're getting stopped. And then we want them to be able to continue on where they want to learn or want to be something different, right?
If it
Because
comes too easily,
sorry.
if it comes too easily, it actually means that there's a problem. We're actually designed to a certain extent to resist change. There are gates that kind of regulate that, and if your gates are open, you have no boundaries, and anything and everything gets in there. So there should be some resistance to the change, but also the brain reads change as death. So then the negative component of it is also compelling. And so the trick is to actually be able to tolerate that discomfort and utilize it. It's like there's no growth in muscle without tearing. You have to tear and repair. That is the way that growth happens. So if growth is coming easy, then you just got lucky and you already learned that part. Other than that, it should not come without struggle. It means that there's actually a problem with boundaries.
Maybe. I would give you a maybe on that, and it's topic specific. And I agree that it depends on the person, it depends on the circumstance, and it depends on their commitment. Right? So like Allison was saying, if they're paying for it out of pocket, you better believe that they're going to pay more attention than they would if a company is forcing them to go, right? And so the other thing too that ultimately people people are going to want to they're going to want to have to change. There has to be enough pain associated with it in order for them to want to do something different.
Yeah, the pain of staying where they are is more
Yeah.
than the fear, then it becomes greater than the fear of doing something different, right? That's to get in action. And I think because I'm not life coaching, I'm executive coaching, it's a little different,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not trauma based, it's really how do I get forward? And so they do come to me and say, I want to know my blind spots. I want to know what I want to see. I want to see this perspective. So that's why it depends, right? Because I'm in a different arena, right? I'm not digging into the depths of trauma in their life, right? I am from where I am, I want to go forward, I want to go up, I want to be better, I want to make more impact. And so it's a little different starting point,
Yeah.
right? With my clients, from that standpoint. That being said, I have them all do the positive intelligence assessment, and I do find out how they get in their own way and who's the voice in their head that could be taking them off mark, right? So there is that component of it in there, but I have less resistance. And then the other piece about designing my alliance is that I want to challenge them to expand, not contract. And so it's my job to learn how to help them see the things they can't see. And so that it doesn't slow the progress, that it's like, oh, I never saw that before. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Not, oh, I'm bad, I'm terrible, I'm that, right? So it's my job as a coach to learn how that's part of designing the alliance that you do, is so I learn, and also my intuition to understand how I give feedback and how in those situations, right? And that's something we spend a lot of time talking about, because if they contract, then obviously my emotional intelligence was down in those moments because I wasn't seeing them. So you have to remember too, as an executive coach, I'm coming at this a little differently than life coaching. That being said, I do, they don't realize they're getting life coaching in there. They all think they're just getting business executive coaching. They don't realize underneath it,
But it's
but
all connected because you can't be an
Yeah.
effective leader if your life is crap.
no, and I coach the whole
Right?
person. I mean, a lot of my clients say, you not only made me a better leader, you made me a better husband, a better father, a better partner.
It's
And
all
that's like, well,
connected.
you're a whole person. There's this TV show called Severance on Apple, where the guy, basically when he goes to work, he has a treatment where he doesn't remember his personal life. He only can think about work. And then when he goes home, he doesn't know about work. He goes, and I tell my clients, unless you live in the world of Severance, you're a whole person, and I coach all of you. Like one of my clients is like, I'm blowing up at my daughter. I know that's not part of the scope here. I'm like, why not? Right. And so, but anyway, yeah, so my clients are definitely coming from a place of really leaning in because they're hungry for a goal.
Yeah. But isn't that what we want for all of our clients,
Yeah.
regardless of what we're coaching them on?
Yeah.
And the only way that we can get them into that coaching mindset, I mean, the growth mindset as a coach, is for us to be super curious about what they have going on. And from that curiosity of like, okay, well, what do you feel is your limitation? What do you feel? How are you not moving forward? What do you feel is occurring for you? And asking these questions and asking them in an open-ended way, right? Open-ended questions. We want to really listen to their answers, because if you're asking a question and not listening, then you might as well not even be on the call, right? And we want to reflect it back. And then we also want to have them see change by having them celebrate those small wins, right? So it's going to be a compound effect for most people. Um, so we want to make sure that as coaches, for us, that we are doing the work that we're expecting our clients to do. In other words, look for your own blind spots, look and see where you're getting stopped, look where you get activated, and just continuously self-reflect ourselves, because they will recognize if you're not doing that, right? So that's what I wanted to cover for today. Do you guys have any questions at all about anything that we covered? Anything come up? Anything at all? Helpful?
But yeah, oh, very helpful. You know, again, with these clients, I think it's that it's ironic. They're similar culture, similar challenges. They come from a very direct, abrupt culture. And I think for me is that and they both know that they're lacking in emotional intelligence, but they also like being direct and blunt and bottom line. Um and so I think for me is the challenge is going to be to get them to have that desire and that empathy, right? The empathy is missing, right? And so how to help a client not only see that they have lack of empathy, but understand why empathy is important, right? So
Mhm.
that's my challenge.
Okay. Yeah. And so just stay in that inquiry, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah. And so Damien Goldfarb, who teaches the supervisors, he lives in my town and he's always looking for coaches for supervision help. So I get free supervision. So I have this place to go and work on with these clients. So I was like, I'll take advantage of that. I'll get free supervision anytime. So I do supervision whenever he has somebody that needs and ironically, the person that's doing that now is from the same culture and the same gender as the two that I'm coaching. So it's kind of this fun little coincidence right now.
by accident.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I'm getting, that's another thing, growth mindset. It's like, yeah, my supervisor always looking for clients to coach. I'm like, sign me up. Like,
Yeah,
why wouldn't I want to learn how to be better? Right. I get free help in being a better coach. Yes, please. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So before I let you go on a break, um so I was told that the document should be in the materials.
I saw a notification.
You saw a notification come through?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Take a look at that. Let me know if you have any problems. All right, so helpful. Good to
Yeah.
kind of get a refresher. And then next class you're gonna do, well, we're gonna come back after break. But next class is gonna be your first mentoring class. So
Okay, and that
don't
means we're
worry.
each gonna coach each other and get feedback on the coaching. Is that
Yeah,
basically what that is? Okay.
Allison, you'll be coaching Bonnie during that session. Okay.
Oh, okay, it's just one way. Okay.
Yeah. And then
Good,
Cheryl,
because I haven't coached before or really been coached before, so I would kind of like to see how it goes before I
Yeah.
try to
Okay.
do it.
no, no worries. And when we get back from break, I'll have you guys listen to a coaching session. We're gonna break it down with the competencies and then go from there. Okay, so why don't we take why don't I see you back at 35 after?
Okay,
15 minutes.
Okay. Yep.
Yep.
You guys-
okay. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
So where are you physically located?
Oh, yeah, I'm in Tampa.
Oh, my parents lived in Temple Terrace for 30 years.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, just by USF.
Yeah, we recently moved to Dunedin, which is north of Clearwater, so we're on the
Okay.
coast now
Okay.
instead of being on the bay. And we like it. We like it. We started off in Sarasota and we felt we were a little bit too young. Quiet. You know, everything closes at 10. Like we couldn't go to dinner and then like hang out a little bit. Like it was just didn't work. So
Yeah, we're from Chicago. I moved to California. Mom and dad were gonna follow me, and then they looked at the price of houses, and they said, no, we're going to Florida. Will you come to Florida? And I said, no.
yeah.
And so they were there for 30 years. After my dad passed, my mom moved back to Chicago.
Okay. Now where in California are you?
I'm Southern California. I just moved from Redondo Beach to Long Beach. So when you're
Nice.
saying, how do you feel when you leave the beach? It's like, it's every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, my old house was a block from the ocean, so yeah.
Same.
I gave
Same.
that up for love, though. I'm now at a not as pretty beach and not as close to the water, but it is what it is.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Loving's important too.
Yeah. It was also a financial decision. I can rent out my house for a heck of a lot of money. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What
yeah.
about you, Bonnie? Where are you located?
Ugh. I am in the middle of the desert in the southern tip of Washington, waiting to move back up to the Pacific Northwest. I'm from just outside of Vancouver, BC,
Okay.
but I met a boy, and that was my second error.
Yeah.
And so now I've got to find my way back up and get out of here as soon as I can. I love not having constant rain. Like I'm from 260 days a year of rain, and I love that about this. But you can only be outside maybe 4 months out of the year. In the fall and the spring, it's too hot or too cold the rest of the time. And I don't like what it's doing to my skin. I come, all fresh and plump, and now I feel, I don't know if you were a kid, if you ever carved up an apple and set it on the windowsill and let it shrivel down. That's kind of what I feel like at the moment.
Are
So
you
that,
are you near Richland?
no, yeah, I'm between Yakima and Tri-Cities, basically.
Yeah, so Chris's daughter and my partner's daughter and husband were living in Richland for a while, but
It was
they're really
super windy
active.
there.
Well, they did everything they could. He was there for research, but they went back to Boston. They're big city kids. So
It
he
is
did.
the cartel capital of the US. I am surrounded by crops that are constantly being sprayed, and it's yeah, and from being from Vancouver, I'm used to international foods. I can't even get papaya here.
Yeah, we were
Oh.
we were food challenged when we were there,
Oh,
yes.
hugely. Just ridiculous. I have a question though. We're supposed to take the EQ test.
Yep.
I can't find where I'm supposed to take it.
Well, that's because I was going to tell you
Oh,
that it's actually going to get sent to you in an email. So it
okay.
takes about 20 minutes. And you're going to end up getting, so Cheryl's going to send you guys an email. You're going to take the test. She gets the results. You're going to get a participant results, which is a little bit shorter version, but you'll still get your results as well. And then you schedule a session with her where she's going to take an hour and go through your results. And then she'll give you feedback on how to improve areas and all of that. And we'll talk about it in class as well. Not yours specifically, but um we'll review an assessment, and we'll talk about what that looks like and what do some areas mean and all of that.
Why do
So
we get a truncated result?
I'm not sure. I think it's just how it is.
That's what I got. Like I did this other
something.
training for an assessment, practice, and they
Mhm.
get one result and we get the long one with the suggestions and the feedback and how to, yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like the coach's version of how to coach them on the assessment.
Yeah, exactly. So, but even the truncated version is still really helpful. So you're not going to be missing out on information at all. It like gives you the actual result and what it means and all of that. They just give a little bit more for the person facilitating it. The other thing too is when you have a chance, double check the drive. Cheryl said that she just made sure that the most update version, and she said something about sending you guys the one that she wanted you to have in a chat. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you lose track of downloading which ones and all of that, so.
Exactly. I just ditched everything I previously did and just started fresh, but there's 2 copies of the referral one, referral PDF. There was 2 copies of that, which it's just confusing, right? Is all.
Yeah. So on Wednesday, let her know, and that way maybe she could kind of go through and show you which one she wants instead of me trying to get that for you.
Okay.
That's okay. Okay, so tonight, let me just hold on over there. All right, so we talked about the assessment. So you're gonna get the assessment. And then schedule a call. Okay, perfect.
To have scheduled our one-to-one coaching as well. So that's, I guess, something that was needed to be done.
Yeah,
Yep.
she said that she was working on getting that set up for our calendar, because we get 2 one-on-ones with her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I
she
have
was still
one.
fixing the system.
Okay, because it showed up for me to be able to do, so I ended up, I've got one already
Oh,
this
good.
month, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, make sure you get those sessions scheduled. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to listen to a coaching conversation, and let me share this with you. All right. Have you guys seen this template before?
I downloaded it.
Perfect.
Yes,
So you have a
yes.
copy? Okay, you both have a copy. Perfect. That's
Yeah, I
fine.
don't have a hard copy with me because I'm on the road right now.
It's okay. You just need to have, if you can have it up on your screen while you listen.
Okay,
Because
What
we're
is
gonna
it
start.
called?
So it's the feedback form. It's the markers template, feedback markers template.
Okay,
There's,
then,
those are your core competencies for ICF.
okay,
And
I need to know the file name.
so
The
feedback
actual-
markers template. And if it helps, if it supports you guys, I could leave it up for you.
Why aren't they showing up? So we're in the drive at the moment,
Okay.
and
Did you-
and it does look familiar to me.
Okay.
But I don't see feedback markers template anywhere in, maybe it's in
it's
the,
called updated PCC markers November 2020.pdf.
That what it is? Okay.
That's the
and
one
I
I
don't
have.
see that in here either.
Okay.
Okay.
So for right now,
It might be in the class. See, and that's another thing that's confusing. The stuff to download is twice. It's on the drive and it's also in the, like on the left-hand side where it says module 1 and it lists the classes. So in
Yeah.
class 3 are different links than what is on the drive.
okay.
I
will
put
let-
it in the chat too for you if that helps.
But I don't understand why. No, it's not in the class. Like,
Oh, this is the wrong one. I put the wrong one up. I put the wrong one in, by the way.
I'm behind because I can't keep this straight. And
So the best way to do this is first you guys know, like when you log into UpCoach, you have to start the session, right? So start that specific segment in order to
Yes.
get the information.
Yeah.
And then every segment is going to have downloads available for you. I would use what's in the actual chapter. So if there's like the material part. So you got to remember that what I think is happening, and this is my opinion, and I don't know if it's fact, that there might be documents that were updated and they're updated for you specifically from old sessions. So maybe the material has the ones that needed to be deleted because they were updated. Does that make sense? And maybe that's
Except
why you.
this document is neither in class 3 nor in the drive.
It's gonna be under probably under announcements. So she puts it in, there's a segment. Hold on, let me find where I'm at here.
And
So
that-
if you
From
go-
that page, I have to go back too. I can't just click on announcements. And so I could be on the drive, it could be in the class, it could be an announcement. So I don't know, like it would be easier if everything was just under one spot.
Okay, well, I'll let her know. I'll give that feedback. For now,
I don't have it in this, it's not in
That's
the
okay.
form.
I'm going to, here. Did you send it in the chat by chance?
No, it was the wrong one.
Okay, so give me 2 seconds. And there should be an area that says modules, class recordings. Okay. Mentoring, checklists, reading assignment.
I don't even
all-
see it in there, to be honest. I don't
That's
see
what
that.
I'm saying.
It's not in there because I've downloaded everything that's in there, and I think she put it in the chat, but it's not in the system. So
Okay.
we have to find it. I'll have to find it from my previous
It
So,
chat,
looks
which was,
familiar,
So
but
what-
I don't have it anywhere.
okay, so this is what we're gonna do for today. I'm gonna show you. Hold on. So
Here we
part of what happens when you're gonna listen, if y'all are not coaching each other, you're gonna be listening to a recording, and that's what we're gonna do tonight. And
so
usually
I just put it in the chat, by the way.
what ends up happening, so it was feedback markers template, perfect.
But it
Um,
wasn't, I downloaded it from when she gave it to us in class,
Yeah.
not from the system.
Okay, Bonnie, are you able to get that out of the chat?
I am trying.
Okay.
Let me just see if it went. And it's called feedback,
It's in the chat here on the Zoom chat. I just put it in the Zoom chat.
Yeah.
feedback markers template. Oh, there it is. It's got, oh, I don't want to replace fonts. No, I don't want to replace fonts. So it's got the blue, black, white. Okay.
No. Okay,
Markers observe evidence, and it has the Coaching Academy logo on it. So 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 0.4, etc. And it's a doc or a page.
yes, that's it, and it has choose an item, topics you'd like to accomplish, so then the choose its item is a drop down that says yes, no, somewhat.
Yes, okay.
You got the right document,
Feedback markers template, it says.
yes.
Okay. And is this
Okay.
one we will use consistently when we're listening to videos and stuff? Okay.
Yep. Okay, so we're gonna listen to this video, and what happens is usually if you're listening to somebody else, you're gonna get assigned a competency. So how it works is that if you get assigned number 3, so Bonnie, today you have number 3. So you're going to listen for focus and outcome, measure of success, importance and meaning, and needs to address, right? So see if they have, see if any of those are actually represented, right? And if they are, then under evidence and comments, go ahead and write what you observed. Okay, so and then Allison, for you, you're gonna have number 4. So
Okay,
anything that
So
cultivates trust.
she did 3 last time, I did 4 last time. Do we want to switch it or do we want to do the same? Does it matter?
Hold, please, because she assigned them.
Okay, that's fine.
Let me check. Allison 4, Bonnie 3. Okay, so
Okay, so
if you
that's
wanna,
fine.
if you wanna switch, that's okay. I thought she said.
No, if that's what she wants to do, that's fine. I trust her. She's got a reason for it. Probably because Bonnie's newer to the coaching framework. She wants her to master that piece.
Bonnie's a newbie.
So she probably wants her to master that piece of it first.
So she told me, yeah, let's keep it that way. And then,
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna run out of time at 5:30, so we should get
Yeah.
going.
but it's really, it's not that long.
It's not a 30-minute one again? Okay,
No.
good,
Okay.
yay.
So I want you guys to just listen for those competencies and then we will talk it through. Okay. So you could go off camera, go on mute. And then I will find that recording that I just had. And we'll go from there. Oh, am I still sharing this? Okay. Give me 2 seconds. I need to just find it in all of this because I just had it and now I don't. Where are you? Can you believe this? Hold on. Okay. There it is.
Hi, Janet.
Hi.
I am so delighted to be spending some time with you here today. And before we start, I would just like to do a little bit of housekeeping. Is that all right with you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we have 30 minutes for this coaching session. So we'll have it, so my time, it's about 8:12 my time. And so it'll be around, 8:35 that we'll be ending this, and you're 3 hours ahead, so I guess that's 11:35 your time.
I'm just two.
Oh, you're 2 hours. Okay, so 10:35. Okay. And then also to for the housekeeping, I'd like to cover, what your comfort level with challenge within the coaching session is.
I'm pretty comfortable with it being challenged because it helps me think about things in a different way. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with it. And if it's too much, I'll just tell you, nope.
Perfect. Wonderful. That's great. Thank you. And also too, I would like to, they mentioned, like, are you comfortable with me interrupting you if it feels like maybe the conversation's going off your topic?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
How would you like me to interrupt you? What would be the best?
Just say something. I don't mind, if you overtalk me to redirect me, because, yeah, I'm one of those, I've been told I ramble, and I know I do. So it seems all important in my head, so it just comes out. So, yeah, if you talk over me, it'll be fun, and say, hey, Janet, let's reassess or redirect. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Okay, and so before we start, is there anything that you might need to address so that you are fully present here for your session here today?
I'm gonna take a drink as soon as I find it. And then I'll be ready to go.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. That's good that you take care of yourself. what is really important for you to talk about today?
My sister's funeral is tomorrow. And, I want to be comfortable going to the funeral, knowing that I can, how to say it, I'm doing what I need to do, and how it affects everybody else in my family who can be quite judgmental, and I don't know what they are, but, well, I do know what they are, but I want to, and even with my spouse, I want to be on an even keel and not let myself get so upset over things. Because, I know I do that, just, and this is a tough situation, you know, with my sister dying. And I just need to, I can rest when I have her in the vault. This is this is important, but I need to make sure my sister's in the vault so nobody else can hurt her. So, and I'm carrying all this tension with me in case, you know, something goes wrong. I don't know what could go wrong at a funeral, but you know, yeah, there's a lot of high tension. I call her husband exactly that, my sister's husband, because of various reasons. And well, I didn't even care enough to call to see if he's out of the hospital to go to my sister's funeral. So I need some techniques, or I need to feel like I'm capable. I am capable, but I don't want the tension to creep up and me have to take an anxiety pill or something, you know. So I want to be self-aware, I guess. And like right now, the closer it gets to, you know, the day of, I can feel that tension building up. So and it would be nice to be able to be like even, and right now maybe a 3 or 4, you know, that I have the confidence that I'm not going to tell my brother, sister's husband exactly what I think of him. And that's not productive for anybody. But I just want to be able to have some, like I said, some techniques, or talk it through, or examine it and why I feel that way. And so I can go in tomorrow feeling better. And I'll know that, like I said, like right now I'm at a 3, I'm not feeling 3, 4. And if I'm at a 6 or 7, I'll be fine with it.
Okay,
So-
wow, Janet, you sure shared a whole lot there, and I would like to take this moment here, if it's okay with you, to reflect back and to offer an observation. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is that you're going to have to go to this funeral of your sister's, and you have this buildup of this, like it feels to me like an anticipation of something going wrong, during this burial of your sister. And you can't trust yourself with her husband, your brother-in-law, because you have some deep feelings there that you might want to express. And so you want to be able to go in there feeling even keeled. And so what I observed was, you mentioned that this was really important. And when you said that, your voice cracked just a little bit. And it seemed like there was a bit of an energy shift there. Was that a correct observation?
Yes, it was. Because I just want my sister to have a nice funeral, and she's free from pain now, but to be protected from any other harm. I don't want any bad vibes at the funeral, out of respect for her. That is what she deserves. And I'm worried that I'm gonna bring a bad vibe in myself, and I don't want to do that. So that's probably what you heard was right there, that I'm worried I'm gonna be the one doing it. So,
You mentioned even keel. What does that mean to you?
even kill that I'm aware of what I'm feeling, and that I can recognize the emotions and accept that just because they're there, I do not have to act on them. I can, honor my feelings, but respect my sister at the same time, kind of thing. So it's just maintaining control to me is even, I'm gonna cry, but that's different than what I'm talking about, but, so I can maintain a presence, or that's just even, not too high in emotion, but not showing no emotion at all. Because I want to be in the middle. I like that middle ground. So it even kills that middle ground. So
What would you like to walk away with by the end of this session?
I would like to walk away with the knowledge that I am capable of doing this. Which is my thing. You can't do that for me, I realize that. But and maybe some sort of understanding that will stick with me of why I don't have to act on my feelings, why it's okay to have them, but I don't have to express them at this point in time at the funeral. I can do that later, at a later time, if I ever see the man again. And he's the only, well, some of my sisters, two of my sisters are there too, and I have this little need to always get their approval. So I don't want to do that either. I just want to be comfortable in myself and do my thing, which would be even killed, So all these little family problems come in, I've been working on them, but not with the people in the room, So I have to watch my behaviors that I don't slip back into behaviors I no longer want to do. So,
Okay, so just so that I'm clear, you also mentioned earlier that you were 3 or 4 with your confidence level, and that you would like to come away with being around an 8. Was that correct in hearing that?
I'll be good with a 6 or 7. 8 would be awesome. I mean, if I could come, that would be awesome.
Okay. And you just mentioned also too, just being able to, come away with a better understanding of your control of your emotions. Is that correct? Did I have that right? Or
Well, yeah, because I'm in a point in my life where, this is gonna sound weird, but I am now just learning to express emotions and to be able to recognize them, because I've always stuffed them or whatever. So I'm at this very tenuous stage, needless to say, where that because I'm just learning about them, I want to act on them. But I also need to learn that sometimes it's not okay to do that, depending on the circumstances. And does that, yeah, I was gonna ask you if that makes sense, but I think it did, so I don't even. Yeah,
So what's
That's
that, what's that questioning about yourself all about?
Um. Just my upbringing and my life up to when I was 50 and dealing with my siblings and everything. I've always tried to be like, I want them to like me because I never felt they liked me when I was growing up, and they all like excluded me. And so I overextend on trying to belong or get them to include me and stuff. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that feeling that that I need to belong, you know, that, yeah, along those lines. Because I know that I don't need that. Because I mean, I'm good just as I am. And it's their problem if they can't reach out to me, not mine. So, which is part of the tension, I guess, all this family stuff.
Yeah. When thinking about going to your sister's funeral and what you just shared right now about how you question yourself, and it's based upon, wanting to belong, like have your siblings accept you. Is there a connection with this?
I think so, in that Shirley always supported me, and she's the one that passed away. She always supported me, and did not do that what the others did. I chose to break away from her for just her spouse and things that he did, and she did not stand up for her children. So, but she was always loving and everything whenever we would see each other and everything. And I have a special bond with this sister, whereas I don't with my others that are going, the two that are going to be there that are still alive, So so I feel like I owe it to her to maintain myself. And I don't know, that doesn't seem to coincide though with what I thought it was. That I don't want to. I am of the belief that in spirit she will still be there. She is still with us and stuff. So, and I don't want her to be upset at anything I do. And that would be not being myself. Because she was supportive of me doing my own thing, of going to college, of, anything I was interested in doing. She was supportive of that. And I just want to support her and respect her by being able to to act appropriately. Not the way that I feel like I should, but to act appropriately, be myself, to honor her kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, so, may I,
Oh, that's me. Okay, so for time's sake, because it's gonna go on for another 20 minutes and we'll be at time. I'm sorry to leave you guys hanging. I know that sounds awful, but since the what are they called? Markers are the first of the conversation. I was like, you know what? It's okay for us to kind of go through that. So first and foremost, tell me, what did you guys, what stood out for you in that conversation? It could be good, it could be bad. Like, what was one of the things that,
I felt like it was, I'm a little, I'm hypercritical, I will say, of these calls, but I felt like it was meandering. I felt like, I don't know what she was working towards at
Mhm.
some point. Like, it took a long time to get to the topic, which I appreciate, understand, but I don't know if it needed to. I mean, I think she, I think there, you could, she told it what she wanted. She mentioned the measurements. I appreciate she was showing some empathy and all of that. So I felt like we could have gotten to the topic sooner, at least in my coaching. I would have gotten to the agreement part taken care of a little earlier in the conversation.
yeah. Okay. Bonnie, is there anything that stood out to you in this conversation? Something that you'd either take away or something that you don't want to do?
Outside of my competencies,
Yeah, just in general.
I felt it felt slow to me. At the same time, for the client, however, that's a pretty heavy topic. And that's one that you need to leave lots of space and room to deal with. And she was, at times fighting a lot of emotion and things. And it was interesting to me that the coach didn't name any of the potential feelings. And there's sort of pros and cons for that. But yeah, it just didn't feel super direct, but at the same time, I'm not sure yet where I stand on that, given that it was a heavy duty topic and the client is really feeling a lot of mixed stuff and could tip over at any moment. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. I think there's this balance between the framework and the topic, right? And while I feel like she was very, um, the right, energy and pace and tone, I think that the order of things could have been a little different and not necessarily rushing anything. I think that, yeah, for me, it was like, yeah, but I agree with you. It's like, this is a big topic. But I think that, I'm a little more structured at the beginning, I guess, in my style of coaching.
And so why do you think, okay, as far as competencies go, let's start with Bonnie. Bonnie, what did you observe in the time that we listened to as far as the competencies go? Any of them stand out for you?
in short, all of the four were met. She asked the client continually for permission. I don't know how many times you're supposed to, but she asked several times. She asked the question about, how do you want me to interrupt you, or is it okay? she asked her what she wanted to talk about today. And the client did state it. She said fairly clearly, I want to be calm for my sister's funeral. In terms of measures of success, they did talk about SUDS. So the client talked about a 3 and a 7. She did ask what she wanted to walk away with from the session, but I didn't feel she was clear about closing off that question. But we're not all the way through either. Importance and meaning, she did ask what she meant by even keel. The client was able to state that fairly directly. She reflected, asked for clarity, asked what the client was questioning herself about. And the last one, the needs to address, to this point, and I only heard one, and she asked, what do you need for the session? And the client said a drink, which told me what was coming was going to be heavy.
Yeah.
But each successive competency was a lesser and lesser focus as we went on.
Mm-hmm.
A lot on the focus and outcome, but I'm still a little clear on like, how will you know?
Yeah. And that's great because part of what we do is, okay, like, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to have? You ask that how it feels comfortable for you. And what she said she wanted to have were techniques on being self-aware. So she could get through her sister's funeral. Right. And the coach kept going deeper, which is great. However, they didn't acknowledge that if that's what she wanted to have, right? Part of what we want to do is be like, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is what you really want is our techniques on how to be self-aware during the time of the funeral. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Get them to acknowledge it. And part of why we do that is, one, you're clear as to what your goal is, but also if they want to change it, or if they want to if they want to go deeper on it, they're going to tell you, because them hearing it back has them validate it for themselves and have them self-reflect, like, is that really what I want right now? Right. And so one of the things that was missing was that confirmation of the agreement. And so that's something that's going to be really important. So if you remember anything about this class at all, that's it. Right.
Okay. She ended up going way deeper. They weren't talking about the techniques at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like, my own affect was going up just thinking about being mad at the brother and I got pulled into the story, and there was no talk of techniques at all.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how through that conversation she was going to get to her goal.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's still some time for that. So they eventually get to a resolution of whatever she wanted to accomplish. But the key thing here is ultimately when we get those coaching agreements, like, we make sure we get them, right?
Yes.
So it's great that you picked up on that. The other thing too is that to just really get this to hit this point home, right? Especially for you, Bonnie, because I know you have some anxiety about going through all of this. The one thing that I'm going to leave you with, and you and I, like, we'll see each other later on, right? But by that point, you're going to have been coached and you'll be coaching and doing all that. The one thing that you want to do is make sure that that coaching agreement is flat. So what we want to do is we want to know what they want to talk about. What do they want to have? You're going to have a whole bunch of conversation in the middle. And then you're going to just close the call by reiterating at the beginning of this call, you said you wanted blah, 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 what we got to, and you're going to give a little bit of that, what's your biggest takeaway? And in between those two, you're just going to ask a whole bunch of questions and be very present and just listen. So don't get anxiety around it, because you will nail the coaching agreement. If you nail the coaching agreement, your conversation is really fluid.
And I think I would add, and it could take 20 minutes to the coach
Yeah.
room, because they could bring a presenting issue and that you're uncovering the layers and the layers, right? I don't think that was the case here. I think that it was just, she didn't close it out. But yeah, so it's like, there's no format on how long it takes, right? If you feel like when they present it and you start asking questions and get clarity about it, then you might be, then you might say like, you brought this presenting issue, but what I'm hearing is that, and so, what comes up? So there's no time frame like you have to do it within a minute, 5 minutes, 20 minutes. It could take a while because the client might not really know what the topic is yet, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's just the one part of the conversation, like, we don't want to rush. And even if like you're having a hard time nailing down that coaching agreement, just still go after it. Does that make sense? Because like you're not going to get anywhere in the call without that. So they'll still get value.
That's the feature right there that drives me nuts about therapy, because I will have somebody sit down and I will say, what do you want to talk about?
Mhm.
And they've scored like 49 out of 50 on depression, and then you go, right, and they don't have anything to offer, and they're like, oh, it's all just normal, and you have 50 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting and looking at you.
Yeah, I can see how that's difficult.
Like getting a hat and
Yeah.
and tap dancing or something, you know?
Yeah.
So I like the idea of getting that agreement, and it takes it off of me too.
And we're going to get into that, we're going to break down all of that. But the great part about getting an agreement like that is exactly what you said. It has nothing to do about what we want and how we would handle it, and like what the outcome is everything client based. So it definitely does that. Okay, how about number 4? Allison, what did you see? And then Bonnie, if at any time, and I'll like, we can interchange since there's only 2 of us. So if there's something else that you guys heard that you want to bring up, please do. But
Yeah,
Allison,
so I'm gonna start at the bottom. So I
Okay.
feel like 4, 3 and 4 were yeses. She played back what she was hearing, got her talking about it, let the client, do that, the 4. I think she acknowledged, I don't know if the expression, she kind of like energy. I don't know if she specifically said, I think she would almost be a somewhat, maybe not a solid yes yet, because I think it was, but I think she talked about the feelings a little bit, like the energy and some of that. I think she could have gone deeper on that one. Same thing with 4 2, the support and empathy. I mean, she's obviously very empathetic and a very caring woman, and I think that was obvious with her piece. I think because of the nature of the topic, I think I would have said, at any point in time, if this gets too much, please stop, I mean, she did say about challenging her, but that's not the same as the emotional journey. So I think there could have been, just acknowledgement of, based, and checking in with her, how are you feeling right now? So I felt like she could have done better on that one. And maybe it's later in the call, but I didn't see anything on 4.1.
As far as acknowledging talents, insight, and work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could have been, that came later in the call, right? It just, to this point, it hadn't come yet.
Yeah. Yep. Anything else come up for you guys around that? We have just a couple of minutes left. But anything?
She did use some of her language. The client said she was questioning herself. She asked about her questioning herself. And she did ask about even keel. But the client wasn't using much metaphor either. It's fairly straightforward. So
I mean, yeah, I gave you my feedback. So, I mean, I felt like she was okay. I think there was, again, I didn't get to hear the whole call. I don't know if she went deeper in those things, but at this point in the call, I think it was probably like, it was okay, but I think could have been better on those.
Yeah. And so it's out of, so I found it very interesting the first time I heard it, of how do you want me to interrupt you? Right? Like, how do you want me to, I think that's what she said. I kind of like it, and I'm kind of like, I'm not sure about it, right? Like, I think it's client specific, especially if you have somebody that's a talker, right? Most of the time you could have a conversation and it's easy for you to be like, wait, hold on a second, right? and get a question in there or get a thought in there.
And you
And
can tell maybe she hasn't coached her before, because I talk about that in designing my alliance, right, with my clients. So,
Meaning you cover that up front. Is that what you mean?
yeah, before we even start coaching in the session, the first session of my foundation session, we talk about intruding, how we don't want to get stuck in the stories because we don't want to coach the stories. We don't want to deepen the story, right? We want to, what's the salient thing, and move on. So you might not even notice, but sometimes I may ask you the bottom line, or what do we need to take from this? And, but then you can let me know if you have an emotion, if you just need to get it out because you've had no place to process it. We'll give you a couple minutes to clear it, but then we move on from it, right? So that's part of my designing the alliance. So you can tell that they hadn't worked together before, or she was trying to put all these pieces in to just put that whole piece in. So it wasn't organic in that moment. But I think it was just, I know this is being recorded, so I'm going to go through the steps kind of thing, is what that felt like to me, is more of an organic thing.
Yeah. And so out of this whole class today, the coaching call, the session that we've had together, what's your biggest takeaway? What are you walking out of here with before we close today's session?
For me, it's the first part. I think, just really that we finally got into the emotional intelligence stuff, right? And to really what it's done is gotten my curiosity up for how I can show up for my clients in a way that it's not just awareness, that it's the empathy. I think the word I was missing from the conversation was empathy, and how do I help them? Because they're so driven, results, goals, outcomes, promotion, how do I introduce empathy in that situation, in the sense of that they feel like it's important, not something I have to do because it will get me the promotion. Right. So I think that the empathy, so I really enjoyed that conversation, the piece of it really starting to get into the emotional intelligence piece, because I don't have answers, but it's got me really curious, which is, I think, really great.
Yeah, great. Great. And what about for you, Bunny? What's your biggest takeaway from today?
Well, because I'm new to this and there's so many pieces, it feels a little bit like a cracked mirror. Looking at a cracked mirror when you got, disparate, and I can't quite make a picture. But the combination of the mindset book, going through the videos and starting to hear what it is I'm supposed to be looking for, and then of course bringing in the emotional intelligence piece, and I'm very comforted that it is aligned with coherence, because coherence is something that I kind of already know. So
Great.
now this is just another way of talking about it, or I have the embodiment of it. Now I'll have some language around what that's like, because I come from a trauma background where I'm having to do this work myself.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it's just starting, some of the cracks in my mirror are starting to fill in so that my picture is not quite so fragmented.
Okay.
So lots of pieces, even just navigating, the class and the software and how she's presented the material and stuff. So there's a lot going on at once for me.
Yeah, I get that. And just be patient. I promise it'll all come together for you. And
I also see clients right before I come here. So I'm going from one paradigm to another without
that's tough.
5 minutes to breathe. So
Is there anything that you can do to kind of support you, like in that, of getting at least 5-10 minutes?
no, because I counsel right up until 3 o'clock, and then I've got to get in here. And then I didn't know that there was a shift. So I was 15 minutes late, but
None
so
of
was
us knew.
everybody, and it ended up being okay. And I'm writing my friend going, I can't get in. And so I'm thinking to myself, I like an onboarding manual that has the Zoom link in it, everything laid out by date, everything just in the PDF, and you just click on the links.
Yeah, the
So
way it's arranged is by class. So if you go into UpCoach for that specific class, it should have everything in there for you. It'll have the chapters, it'll have whatever assignment you need to do, and the Zoom is always going to be the same.
I don't even know where it is. I found it by accident. There was a calendar still up on my desktop and I clicked it and it took me in. So
Okay, good.
if-
There's also a calendar. So if you live by your calendar, which most of us do, you can have the classes uploaded in your calendar.
I don't know how to do it. Christine,
Okay.
my friend, said she was going to help me with that.
Okay.
I didn't know what an ICS file was, so assuming that students know that, it's just another universal design education piece. I don't know what that is. I don't have time to be tech savvy
Got it.
on with everything else. So
So Allison, I know you need to go. Thank you so much for being here today. And I will see you in a couple classes.
Yeah, and thank you so much for your help today. Appreciate it. It was a great session. I really
Okay,
enjoyed
good. I'm
it.
glad.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
So Bonnie, thank you. And I promise it'll get easier for you. Stay patient. Stay patient, I promise. It'll all come together and it'll become more of a habit for you. So
it is a big shift actually, and I'm not great at succinct. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm having to fix just to be able to do this as well as understand all the stuff that I'm trying to do once I'm fixed. So
yeah. And there's nothing to fix. The only thing that I personally think of, the one check I have for myself is if I find myself talking more than my client, then I'm like, there's a problem. And so I literally stop myself mid-sentence when I'm doing like double questions or a close-ended question, or if I'm about to give advice or do something like that, I literally just stop talking. And then I
and
ask,
it's hard in therapy because so much of it is trying to explain what your brain is doing so that you can work with it. So there's a huge psychoeducational component to it. And I
yeah,
can't find where that is in this.
yeah, I get it. And honestly, that's gonna be your challenge. It's the same thing for consultants that are so used to telling people what to do, right? It's gonna be just like a habit to break, is kind of how I describe it, right? So for me, one of the things that I do is on my piece of paper when I take notes, this column, right? The column part is where I brain dump. If I can't like clear my head and I'm trying to say something, I literally just write it on my paper. So that way I'm still listening, but I'm able to just kind of like put my thoughts down so I stop thinking about them.
There was a technique that I heard to stop that, and that's literally in your head saying what the client is saying.
Okay.
As
Yeah.
try not to move your mouth because it distracts them, but if you can in your mind say along with them or just slightly after them, it stops you from generating
Awesome.
new ideas, right?
Yeah.
So
Love that. Thank you for
tricks,
that.
get this thing under control, right?
Thank you for that. All right. So it was great meeting you. I'm going to let you go because I know you've had a long day. But I'll see you in a couple classes.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.